Hey everyone. This week I wanted to talk about something near and dear to us in the Northeast, and that's winter photography. So, several things to keep in mind when you're doing photography in the winter. First, of course, is that you may be in snow, so make sure that you've got boots that have good grip to them and that will keep your feet warm. And that are also waterproof, because in case you be able to get out of the snow for a while and get someplace warmer, it's going to melt. You don't want your feet getting cold and wet. In addition, there's a couple things that people don't necessarily think about when they're doing photography outside. If you're doing something like portrait, that can be fast-paced. You can be moving around quite a bit. It might keep you warm. But if you're doing something like bird photography, you're waiting for something to happen. Even the event I was doing this weekend, I stood for quite a while with my back to Lake Champlain. So getting the breeze coming off the water at my back, looking down while they were taking a cannon and lifting it up and putting it in the back of a wagon. It wasn't one of the really big cannons, so it didn't require the devices to haul it up. They could do it by hand, but it still required them to get everything positioned correctly to get it brought up. And that required standing for quite a while in the snow, like I said, in cold weather, waiting for them to get that situated so they could get it up safely into the back of the wagon. And there's several things, like I said, that you may not think about with that. One is you're not moving, all right? Whatever you've got on, it's got to be able to break the wind that's coming in as well as keep you warm. So if you've got something that could do double duty, great. If not, get something lightweight that can work as a windbreaker, and then something heavier underneath to keep you warm. For me, it's toes and fingers that usually feel it the quickest. I've got a couple of pairs of gloves that I've used. I haven't found a pair of gloves that I'm in love with yet. For photographers, there's it's kind of two different sets. One is something that goes over your normal glove that goes over your fingers that usually has a pad or something to make it easier to feel what's underneath, and for touch screens to be able to react to. Because again, if you're using a camera that's got a touch screen and you want to use the touch screen, your gloves have to interact with that touch screen. What I found is putting a second pair of gloves on kept my hands warmer, but I couldn't feel the shutter anymore. Now, the first pair of gloves let me feel the shutter without any trouble at all. They're inexpensive touchscreen enabled ones, which basically means they have a thinner pad over your pointer and over your thumb, which allows you to manipulate the screens, because some of the screens want to have a little body heat. But at the same time, being thinner, it allows you to feel what's underneath them a little bit easier than a normal glove would. Putting the secondary glove underneath took that away, and the only cues that I had, because I keep my camera quiet, is to watch the screen flicker to know that I was actually taking a photograph, because I couldn't feel that I was actually pushing the button down. I've got another pair that's kind of the same way. The inner glove has a packet on the back, or a pocket, that allows me to put a packet of hand warmer in, which keep the back of my hands warm. It does help a bit. That glove goes inside the other glove, and again, now you're back to not being able to feel things. The other alternative to it is these mittens that they've got, where the mitten opens up and your fingers are exposed. So you've got like fingerless gloves inside the mitten. Problem with that, from my perspective, is the fact that my fingers don't like the cold, And having all of my little fingers exposed so that I can use the camera is not the most efficient way for me to stay warm and comfortable during the winter. When it comes to my feet, I've got a good solid pair of boots. If you've got anything that's metal-toed, bear in mind that if they actually have metal in there, they will get colder faster. So you're going to want some extra protection up the front. Usually double socks work for me, but trying to keep the rest of my body warm is usually less of an issue than my hands and feet. Normal heavier underwear or heavier clothing being in place, not to mention putting a hoodie on. Again, you're standing in one place for a long time. Remember, your ears are exposed. If you don't have something covering your ears completely, and I mean completely, parts of them are going to get very cold, and you may or may not feel it depending on where it is on your ear that you've gotten cold. So you want to make sure that you keep your ears protected. Having a knit hat on with a hoodie over it helps. You're also shooting in snow, which means if the sun comes out, not only will it change your settings that you have to use on your phone, because if it's not an overcast day anymore, but you're going to get, your eyes are going to get subjected to the reflected sunlight off the snow. So having something kind of like skiers do to help protect their eyes from the snow would be helpful. And a good way to think about that, think about you being out there, is equivalent in a way to skiing. And the reason I say that is because there's certain protections that skiers take into account. Because while they've got the exercise of going down the hill, there's a lot of time sitting on chairlifts, and there's a lot of time sitting at staring at snow that's got sunlight on it. If you keep that in mind and look at normal protective gear that skiers use, that'll probably help you. I don't know if snowboarders use quite the same amount of gear because it's a little bit more active in a way, but a little more body movement to that than typically there is in skiing. Cross-country skiing, again, same thing. There's more activity going on there, so you've got to change your ski gear a little bit. But in all three categories, what they use for protecting their hands and protecting their eyes will be equivalent. Again, for photographers, it really is a tricky situation with what we do. Now, there's an alternative that you can use that I haven't quite tried yet. What you can do is you can get a remote control for your camera. Now, they're Bluetooth now. I go back to the day when there was a cable and you push down on the plunger to take a picture, and you could lock that in place if you wanted to do astral photography, because you could just lock it in place and the shutter would stay open as long as you had that thing tightened down. But now you could, in theory, hold your camera and inside the glove have a shutter release, right? And take your picture using your hand inside you could use a mitten, it could be a sock, anything that would allow you to get your thumb to be able to press on the button, but keep your entire hand warm. Problem with that is it's going to be hard to manipulate things with that kind of device over your hand. Same thing with mittens. I find it very hard to manipulate, like swapping lenses in and out. Using a pair of mittens is impossible. But having a way that even if you popped your finger out of the glove so that it could get in, it's how I used to do my car keys. Same concept. Put the car key inside your glove. If you've got a button release for it. And when you put your glove on, don't put your thumb into the normal place. Or if the glove is thin enough and you get away with it, then you can just use it from the outside. But by having that button in there, then you can just push against the palm of your hand, for example, and do your shutters. Have not tried that yet. I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. Again, I'd like to be able to find a pair of gloves that would be able to do everything that I want. Something like a football player's gloves that have the grip. Because again, we don't want to drop our gear. I've got it on a sling over my neck anyway, so it's not going to go very far. I'd still like to not have that happen. But football players have a pair of gloves that have a lot of grip to them. I just don't know how good they are weather-wise in terms of cold and keeping your hands warm. So I haven't tested those out yet, so I can't recommend them. But again, look around at your local skiing stores. See what they've got in place to help them, especially when it comes to light. As photographers, we have to rely on what we see, and being blinded by the snow, or not taking that into account in our shutter settings, will be a detriment to our art. So that's what I got for you guys this week. I will talk to you all next week.